There is a cry that moves the heart of heaven like nothing else. It is the cry of a soul desperate for the Holy Spirit. It is not perfect, not polished, not prepared to impress anyone. It rises from a heart that has reached the end of itself, falling before Him, trembling, whispering from the depths, "Holy Spirit, I cannot live without you." That cry carries a sound that heaven cannot resist. It moves God more deeply than all our impressive prayers, more than our long lists of good works, more than all the promises we try to keep in our own power. True surrender does not come from our lips alone. It is not a song we sing in worship and forget by Monday. It is the heartbeat of transformation, the oxygen of faith, the source of every true miracle and change. It begins when a heart bows low and admits its need, when it says with all humility, "I cannot do this on my own." How long we try to carry the weight ourselves, struggling to live a spiritual life through natural strength. We tire ourselves trying to fix our flaws, our habits, our past, only to find that the more we try, the more weary we become. Yet, deep within, there is always that quiet tug of His presence. The Spirit does not call for our perfection. He calls for our hearts. He does not ask that we repair ourselves before coming to Him. He asks us to come undone as we are, without pretense, without performance. The Spirit of God cannot move where pride stands. He moves in humility, in longing, in that simple, desperate cry, "Teach me, lead me, change me." And the moment that cry rises from within, heaven bends near. The Holy Spirit comes quickly when invited with sincerity. Heaven opens when a trembling heart says, "Holy Spirit, I give up my way. I want yours." There was a time I believed I knew surrender when I gave Him some of myself. My service, my gifts, my time, but not everything. I thought good intentions were enough. But the Spirit showed me that partial surrender is not surrender at all. He waits for the heart that keeps nothing hidden. Not the dreams, not the relationships, not the secret corners we protect. I learned that true surrender begins only at the end of self, at the edge where every effort has failed, and the only thing left is to fall before Him empty. It was not in a great church, nor on a stage. It was in a quiet place, alone, broken, saying with all my heart, "Holy Spirit, whatever you ask, I will obey. Wherever you lead, I will follow. Whoever you desire me to become, make me that person." In that moment, I discovered that surrender is not a duty, it is a privilege. It is heaven's invitation to trust the one who knows you better than you know yourself. It is choosing to trust His wisdom above your own. That is where transformation begins. The Spirit never forces His way. He waits patiently, gently knocking, waiting for you to open and say, "Come in. Take over." When you finally release your grip on control, something miraculous takes place. You do not lose yourself. You find yourself, the self that has been hidden all along, in His presence. Out of surrender come miracles, peace, and freedom from striving and guilt. It is a life lifted above the storms by His strength, not yours. But it all starts not with effort, but with a cry that pierces heaven. A cry that says, "Holy Spirit, I desire you more than comfort, more than acceptance, more than being understood." And when that cry is genuine, the Spirit flows in like a mighty river. He will teach you how to walk, how to love, how to live. you will see that the secret to transformation was never trying harder, but surrendering deeper. Surrender captures God's heart. It is the moment heaven can truly move. Deep inside every believer must come the understanding that you cannot live in the fullness of God's presence without dying to self. Letting go is painful, but necessary. Every part of our human nature clings to self, to control, to pride, to the need to be seen, to be right. But the Spirit waits for the moment we reach the end of ourselves, because only then can His power truly begin to work within us. The Holy Spirit is not attracted by talent, intellect, or good intentions. He is drawn to the heart that says, I die to myself that you might live through me. The flesh does not want to die. It resists with everything it has. Yet until it does, the beauty of a Spirit-filled life remains locked away. I remember seasons when I tried to hold everything together, when I prayed longer, tried harder, hoping to please God. But the more I tried, the more I saw my weakness. It was there, in complete exhaustion, when I had no strength left to fight, that I heard His whisper, let go and let me take over. Real surrender is not just spoken, it is a death to pride, ambition, and self-dependence. It is the moment you stop relying on your ability to be holy or good and allow His Spirit to live through you. When you truly lay it all down, Christ begins to rise within you by His Spirit. It is no longer about imitating Christ by effort. It becomes Christ living His life through you. The more you die to self, the more alive you become. Alive to His presence, His voice, His will. There is a sweetness in that death that the world cannot comprehend. The world tells you to fight for yourself, to be strong, to control everything. But the Spirit says, lay it all down, lose your life for my sake, and you will find it. And when you finally surrender, when you stop trying to prove, defend, or build your worth, true freedom begins. You no longer lie bound by the fear of failure or the hunger for validation. You are lifted and carried by the Spirit, living not for yourself, but through Him. The peace that follows complete surrender surpasses every earthly comfort. The joy that fills a soul emptied of self and filled with the Spirit cannot be described. It is in this dying that miracles take place, that ministries are birthed, that destinies awaken, not because of what you do, but because of what He does through you. Do not fear this death, for on the other side of surrender is power. On the other side of letting go is life. The life your heart has been searching for. A life so full of the Spirit that striving ends. A life built not on your dreams, but on His purpose. The Holy Spirit is not asking for a portion of you. He is asking for all. Until you open every door of your heart and hand over every key, you will never walk in the fullness of what He has planned. We are skilled at giving Him parts of ourselves. The words we say, the outward acts we perform. But we often keep the hidden rooms locked. We give Him our Sundays, but not our everyday thoughts. We offer Him the cleaned up areas, not the places marked by shame or fear. Yet the Spirit waits patiently. He will not force entry. He waits for your willingness. He waits for the moment you say, Holy Spirit, I trust you more than I trust myself. Trust is the heart of surrender. Many hold back because they fear what might happen if they let go completely. They fear losing control, losing dreams, or losing identity. But if only you knew the goodness of the one who calls you, you would run to him without hesitation. Everything he asks you to surrender, he asks not to take from you, but to heal and free you. He does not wish to be a visitor in your life. He longs to make his home in you, to fill every corner of your being with his presence. He cannot share his throne with other idols. He must be Lord of all, or he is not Lord at all. Not because he is harsh, but because he is holy. And because he loves you too much to settle for half of your heart. There was a time I almost gave him everything. Almost. I had laid down my reputation, my ministry, my outer life, but deep inside remained one guarded place. A small room filled with fear, dreams, and the illusion of control. I never said it aloud, but my actions whispered, "You can have everything, but not this." As long as that door stayed closed, the flow of his power was hindered. The limitation was not on his side, it was on mine. It was only when I finally opened that last door, trembling yet willing, that heaven poured itself over me. I experienced freedom I had never known, peace that could not be explained, and the sweetness of his presence filling every part of me. You cannot bargain with God. You cannot tell him how far he may go. The Spirit moves where he is trusted completely. Transformation happens when your surrender becomes total. When you say with all your heart, "Holy Spirit, everything I am and all that I hold, I yield to you." When that moment comes, his presence rushes in like a mighty current, washing away the old and birthing the new. What you once clung to fades in comparison to what he gives in return. The plans you fear to lose are nothing compared to the destiny he has written for you. The control you hold so tightly is a prison. He longs to give you wings. When you trust him fully, fear loses its grip. You begin to live in peace, in freedom, in awareness of his nearness. The Spirit does not only desire to move in great miracles or extraordinary moments, he wants to walk with you in the ordinary. The small choices, the quiet moments, the unseen battles. He desires to be your comforter, counselor, and closest friend. Yet he can only fill what you surrender. He can only transform what you release. Tonight, he knocks, not asking for more effort or half-hearted obedience, but for everything. And when you give him all, you will find yourself surrounded by the miraculous presence of God. Not as a visitor, but as a constant companion. The Spirit of God is a patient teacher. He does not rush your journey, nor shame your slowness. He understands your weakness and works gently within it. Transformation rarely happens in an instant. Though he can move suddenly and powerfully, his usual way is through process. Day by day, layer by layer, yielding by yielding. We want quick results, instant holiness, and overnight change. But he knows it is in the process that depth is formed and roots grow strong. Every delay, every waiting season is preparing you for the glory he intends to reveal. There were moments I asked, why am I still struggling? Why am I not further along? And his whisper came softly, trust me. Stay with me. Let me finish what I began. It is not condemnation that he speaks, but invitation to trust deeper, to yield more, to rest in his pace. His goal is never perfection in performance, it is transformation of the heart. True change is not an outward polishing, but an inward renewal that makes His presence at home in you. Every step of obedience, every hidden yes, every private surrender is seen by heaven. Do not despise the small beginnings, for they are holy. The Spirit will teach you how to love when your flesh wants to react, how to be patient when everything pushes you to rush, how to trust when fear presses in. He will teach you to stand still when everything in you wants to move. But you must come like a child with open hands, saying, Holy Spirit, I do not know the way, but I trust you to lead. There is no place for pride in this walk. The moment you believe you have arrived, you begin to drift. Stay humble, stay teachable. There is no graduation from the Spirit school. Only deeper intimacy and deeper surrender. Those who remain in the process carry a fragrance that cannot be imitated. Their lives radiate His presence, not because they are flawless, but because they are yielded. Even when you cannot see your progress, trust the hands shaping you. Every correction, every soft whisper, every refining moment builds a testimony that one day will proclaim, this is the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous. There is nothing weak about dependence on the Holy Spirit. It is the highest wisdom. It is waking each morning with the quiet awareness that you need Him. It is walking through every hour conscious that without Him you can do nothing. The world calls dependence weakness, but in the kingdom, it is maturity. The strongest are those who cling most closely to Him. His power flows through the ones who have stopped pretending they can do it alone. Dependence is costly. It demands your pride, your plans, your control. Yet, in losing this, you find strength and peace beyond measure. I have lived the difference. When I carried life in my strength, I was weary and anxious. But when I leaned fully on the Spirit, grace began to flow like a river. He is not calling you to strive more, but to trust more. Dependence looks like obedience, even when you don't understand, like stepping onto water held only by His voice. Every time you choose to depend, you grow stronger in His image. Christ Himself lived this way, doing nothing apart from the Father's will. That same dependence is our call. It is the safest, sweetest place to live, under His leadership, led by His peace. And He asks again today for your trust, for full surrender, for complete dependence. When you say yes, you step out of striving into rest, out of fear into love, out of limitation into divine possibility. To live continually in His presence is to die to self. It is not loss. It is the great exchange of temporary for eternal, of weakness for glory. Every selfish desire, every hidden control must be laid upon the altar daily. He does not take violently. He waits tenderly for your yes. And when you give it, joy floods in. In losing yourself, you find the fullness of His life. The Holy Spirit cannot fill what is already full of self. But when He finds an empty vessel, He fills it until it overflows. That life becomes a carrier of His presence, a living testimony of His power. This surrendered life is not sorrowful. It is rich with peace that defies circumstances, joy that runs deeper than emotion, love that burns pure. It is the abundant life Christ promised, not abundance of possessions, but of His presence. The flesh will resist. It will plead to survive. But the Spirit whispers, come higher, let it go. And when you do, When you choose surrender again, you discover freedom, power, and clarity you never thought possible. There is nothing you can give up that He will not replace with something greater. There is no sacrifice that heaven overlooks. So let Him search your heart. Let Him point to what you still guard. Trust Him enough to release it. Die to your way, your strength, your vision, and you will awaken to the most beautiful life imaginable, a life completely filled and led by His Spirit.